Jim Rowan, how you going? It is the 20th of June, 2021. A very nice day this morning. And it's time for some more New Japan Strong catching up ring to do. We will. So we'll start with a recap, because it's been a while since I've talked about New Japan Strong. It was the end of the USA Cup, or the New Japan Cup USA, rather, tournament. So on that card, that was the 24th of April, we last talked about this. Dickinson and Kratos defeated TJP and Clark Connors in a tag match on that show. Dickinson was going for a running DVD, but then he doesn't notice that Kratos tags himself in as he does. And then so the subsequent pin from Dickinson is useless. Kratos nearly stuffs up when he enters the match, which is, I thought, a pretty good touch. But he goes on to win with a wheelbarrow German suplex over Connors. And then afterwards, Kratos is talking about how great Team Filthy is, but Dickinson is a bit filthy himself, just annoyed that he had victory in the bag and he didn't really need Kratos to be tagging in and stealing it. Kratos argues that they got the win and that's all that matters. And it seems that Dickinson agrees. He's like, all right, yeah, okay, we got the win. That's great. Also on that card was Rocky Romero defeating Wheeler Yuta via submission with an armbar, I believe. That was Wheeler Yuta's New Japan debut. But the main event, the New Japan Cup USA final, Tom Lawlor defeated Brody King with a rear naked choke in a match that lasted about 20 minutes. It's definitely one of the best Strong matches so far. And that made not just Tom Lawlor the New Japan Cup USA winner, but the very first New Japan Strong Openweight champion. He gets the new belt. So Team Filthy come out to celebrate with him at the end of that. He takes the mic, he kind of does the old call out, who's my next challenger? No one comes out. So Dickinson takes the mic and says he's the one challenging, which Lawlor and Kratos do not like. I don't think Limelight was there that day. But there you go, that's the catch-up. So we just crowned a new Strong Openweight champion, Tom Lawlor, moving into May on the 1st. This actually was another special episode. It featured some footage of the day-to-day life in the LA dojo, but they still had the matches. So there was the DKC versus TJP. TJP wins with a dumb submission after a dumb match, but DKC did sneak in a cool Gogo Plata, aka the Undertaker's Hell's Gate, if that's more recognizable to you. Afterwards, DKC appreciates TJP's experience and is working hard in the dojo. By the way, they're showcasing LA Dojo talent in particular on this card, was the idea. They had Kevin Knight and Alex Coughlin? Which one am I going with? I'll go with Coughlin. Kevin Knight and Alex Coughlin versus Ren Narita and Fred Rosser. Rosser fires up the kids with a shove at the beginning here. Not that the Knight and Coughlin need any firing up. Coughlin hoists Rosser around impressively before a gut-wrench suplex. Rosser hits a gut buster followed by a drop kick to Kevin Knight's head as he rises. That's Rosser's little combination finisher. Not exactly a spear to jackhammer, but that's what he's doing. And he wins Rosser over Knight. And Kevin's disappointed with that, but Alex tries to pump him up with some wise words after the match. And then we had, this is a good one, Clark Connors versus Carl Fredericks, who are really like the top two of their class. These are like the original LA Dojo guys, since it was revamped. Like, I know the LA Dojo existed in the past, but since they brought it back, I think these are the two first graduates. I think Carl Fredericks is the first one. Connor's only graduated rather recently. Although that was they made that seem a bit grey exactly when he did, but I'm pretty sure he did graduate like a few months ago, and then just recently. Actually, that might still be to come. That he coming up soon. He actually I won't spoil it. Let's just go through it as it happened. So, Fredericks was the winner of the 2019 Young Lion Cup. And then Connors won the Lions Break Crown in 2020. So, the Lions Break Crown, I don't know what that is. They never actually made it seem like anything. It was just something to try and create some stakes on Strong, as far as I can tell. And then they never referred back to it again. But they have 20 minutes to work with here. Connors is on top going into the closing stages of the match. He crushes Fredericks with a spear, but ultimately falls to his DDT. Fredericks calls it the Manifest Destiny for the win in the 19th minute. It was a very physical match, despite the winner being predictable. I thought that was obvious that would put Fredericks over him. But still a good match, and Fredericks helps Connors up after the match, but then Connors shoves him away. Then Connors softens somewhat, gestures kind of an apology as he leaves the ring, and a nod in Carl's direction, his version of good match. Good game, GG. So, yeah, he's got that competitive spirit there, but still a good guy, Clark Connors. Afterwards he says he went over a lot of tape before this match, and he strongly believes he's grown a lot. And here it is, he declares himself the Wild Rhino. No longer a young lion. So I'm pretty sure he had already graduated, but he just... Yeah, they hadn't made it clear. And maybe... I'm going to get real kayfabe nerdy here, but maybe Connors, he just isn't really the kind of guy to really push for anything in terms of, this example, I'm the Wild Rhino, give me a horn mask. Like, he's not going to be that guy. He's kind of just there to wrestle, and he's a bit of a straight shooter, So, no nonsense. So maybe, almost kind of along the lines of the squeaky wheel gets the grease metaphor or analogy, whatever it is. The idea here maybe was that Connors just, he never really pushed for anything, and he never really kind of made a big deal about anything, and he never really had anything to graduate to. He was just happy in his black trunks. But now he's the Wild Rhino, which is a moniker Kevin Kelly had begun using for him, and he likes it. He's the Wild Rhino as opposed to a domesticated rhino. No longer a young lion. And a wild rhino definitely is a more fearsome predator in the wild than a young lion, I would say. How many full-grown lions do you need to take down a rhino? It's probably... I'd be surprised if... I think 2 top draw lions probably would take on a rhino. I don't think 1 would. But I don't think lions would often be like, you know what, we can take them. I think they would probably be more interested in guaranteeing success, unless they were starving. But then, why would they go after a rhino? There's so many easier options. But this is not a podcast about the African wildlife hierarchy. It's about New Japan Strong. So on the 8th, the next episode, the beginning of a new tour called Collision. And according to Kevin Kelly, it will be the longest and biggest tour from New Japan Strong to date. I can't wait. Now that I've just read that and we're going to go through the next couple episodes. I don't know. Like I don't really pay attention to the tours, but it's funny that he would say that because I bet it's not. I bet they name it something else soon. And there's a new opening signature for the show. It's actually a second signature. I don't know why they do two, but whatever. And it kind of this little video package focuses on the two championships for the brand, and at the moment they're challengers. So, as I've been ranting about on New Japan Strong for a while, I'm sure I finished off the last episode about it on this topic, was, really they should start getting going now because they've got prizes to fight for, there's consequences to winning and losing, there's a reason to be showing up and wrestling other than just getting a paycheck for being on an episode of Strong. Like, they can actually go for prizes here, so yes, it's a big step forward, I think. On this episode, we had Kevin Knight and the DKC versus Barrett Brown and Adrian Quest. Commentary talk about the contrast between Brown's intensity and Quest's serenity. I don't know if they actually use those words or if I came up with those words, but that's the idea. Brown's super angsty and fired up, and Quest is tranquilo, as some may say. But and Quest is doing fine in this match until Brown distracted him with instructions, being just over the top, extra, as the kids say. And Barrett tags in against Kevin, and he's doing well, but then Quest tags himself in when Knight gains a brief advantage, only for Brown to kind of out of nowhere hit the 50 caliber kick on the rebound. So yeah, when he was rebounding off the ropes, Quest tagged in, but that's when Brown kind of pulled it back and hit his best move. So Quest rushes in and hits a standing shooting star press for the pinfall victory that really Brown kind of earned. And he's not happy about it. And he argues with Quest, but Quest is able to calm him down, and they seem to make up in the ring. But once Quest turns his back, Brown attacks. That old chestnut. Throws him back. They were going up the ramp, so he throws him back in the ring. He throws down punches, and then he knocks him out with a spinning elbow. Backstage, Barrett explains his actions and actually makes a pretty good point. He asks why anyone would be surprised that he would stop riding Quest's coattails. Oh wait, I'm sorry. Why would anyone be surprised that he would stop Quest riding his coattails when you combine that with his previous sentiments, this is Brown, you could translate that as also him, because he used to be talking about this being a job that puts food on his table. And so if someone's kind of using his work that puts food on his table and taking some of that away from him, it does make sense. It's a good promo, this, by the way. He is very intense, and sometimes that seems a bit contrived, but he comes across as just very genuinely frustrated and wronged in this situation. And he talks about his long history with Quest. He sets up a showdown between them on Strong. And I said it was a good promo. The objective of a promo is to make me want to see a match. He made me want to see this match. I mean, otherwise, if they just threw these two on in a singles match, I would be like, boring, and maybe even skip to the finish if I didn't think that anyone would pull me up on it, in my description of the matches. But they actually made this, a neat little mid-card feud here. And it's super simple. I mean, it's the old, oh, okay, you stole the pin, I'm angry, okay, we made up. No, wait, I'm still angry, and the attack from behind. It's so simple, but the good promos and the slow build and the realistic nature of all of it just makes it into an interesting next phase of the story. And they're getting better at this, Strong. That there's these little mid-card feuds going on to keep you interested in the, 2/3. Well, I guess, I'm going to go off on a tangent here, but I guess you could kind of say there's 3 sections to a show, or they could do it this way, in that, and I mean, obviously the show always features only 3 matches, so you could do it this way. The opening match is always focused on the development of the youngsters, the actual dojo guys, and that is interesting. You want to, I mean, I like watching the dojo guys. They always lose, of course, but it's interesting seeing their progress, and of course, they're supposed to be there to be learning and training, so it's important to have them on these shows. So that's kind of, your opening match. And then the middle match, you've got these little feuds, these little, just personal rivalries that can build someone up, or just, maybe they're both going to remain in the mid card, but it's just an interesting story to follow, and they can have a good match. And then the last phase of each show can just be a championship caliber main event, wherein there's not necessarily a championship on the line, but it's in the title picture. Even if it's contender number 4 versus contender number 3, and the winner of that would face perhaps, the number 1 contender to find out who is the next challenger. Just in that title realm, that can be kind of the 3 phases of the show. That seems like that kind of structure would be more interesting to follow than a lot of what this show has been so far. And they've worked themselves into that position, so let's see. I haven't gone over these matches again since I watched them, so maybe they have done that. Or maybe they've done something better. Let's find out. Moving along. Did I get to the end of that promo? Oh, well, that was Barrett's end of the promo after this match between them and this breakup here. But Quest is less intense. He's clearly peeved about the whole situation, though. He basically responds that if that's the way Brown wants it, then that's how we'll get it. And then we had some comments from the other team as well. DKC says he and Knight need to get on the same page, but they did get close. Knight says it's only their first tag match, so they'll get back in the dojo and keep working on it. Cool. Similar to that dynamic here, Mysterioso and Jordan Clearwater, they're kind of a tag team trying to get on the same page with each other, versus Jarrell Nelson and Royce Isaacs, who are both New Japan Strong debutants, and they are known as the West Coast Wrecking Crew. Kozlov says that Mysterioso sheds his skin twice a year. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. They go about 10 minutes. Nelson takes out Mysterioso on the outside, then throws him back in while Isaac sets up Clearwater on his shoulders. Nelson scales the turnbuckle, jumps off the back of Clearwater, and drops an elbow on Mysterioso, and then Isaacs completes the Death Valley Driver onto the raised knees of Nelson, which sets up the pin on Clearwater for a victory for the debutants. Obviously a really good team, guys that have worked together a fair bit before, and a decent promo. I mean, they just kind of did that generic introduction type of promo, the new guys, but it was fine. It wasn't bad. And then Clearwater's back there. He's kind of chipper, even though they lost. He's like, well, we came really close. But Mysterioso's not having that. He's like, they lost. It needs to stop. We need to sort this out. Okay, and then the main event on this one, Yuji Nagata and Ren Narita versus Jon Moxley and Chris Dickinson. Big main event on this episode of Strong. The last time Nagata appeared for New Japan was the 30th of March for a Road to Sakura Genesis show in Korakuen Hall. And I was hoping this tour would be closer to live, but I guess it's still possible that it is, but it's also just as possible and probably more likely that it's as behind as ever, considering that those dates there. But anyway, the The announcer mentions Moxley represents AEW in his introduction, which I thought, I don't know. I guess it's just kind of interesting that they're a part of the same world. And that actually probably sounds stupid, because it's only really WWE that pretends no one else is a part of their own universe. But still, I mean, I don't think they were mentioning AEW before this, and Moxley has wrestled. Wait, when did... I mean, yeah, because he was at Wrestle Kingdom 2020, and he was with AEW then. And I don't think that stuff was mentioned at the time. But anyway, and Jericho was there as well. I don't think that stuff was mentioned. So I guess it's only small, but it just that partnership is looking stronger. Stronger. Okay. It's Moxley and Nagata that start, but they're only brief, and there's a few times that they clash from there, but there's not much to the match, to be honest. It ends up being Moxley that pins Narita after a Death Rider, and Dickinson's very excited about the win. Nagata enters and squares off with Moxley before pulling him into the Nagata lock, and Dickinson tries to pull him off, but he can't, and it takes a few more people to finally separate them, and then Moxley hooks his mouth back, or his mouth, kind of just showing that he might have lost a tooth in that battle. His mouth was bleeding? I don't know. Anyway, after this one, Nagata says he came to America for Moxley and he wants more. He will give it his all in their title match, and he expects the same from him. Dickinson yells about the win. He asks where their music and celebration was. He says this shouldn't have been about Nagata. He's really pumped up. Moxley's less pumped up. He kind of seems to agree, but he wants the Nagata he got after the match, the angry Nagata. So he was kind of saying, he kind of agreed with me that the match wasn't that great. He's like, no, I want that, the Nagata he saw after the bell that attacked him. That's the match he wants in the ring, or the version of Nagata he wants in the ring. New Japan Strong on the 15th. We had another debutant, Rocky Romero, taking on AJZ, apparently a former Daredevil freestyle skier. AJZ, or Kozlov reads that as AJZ. But he's AJZ. He's got a good look, a lot of confidence. Appears to have seen some Rick Rude matches, judging by his mannerisms, or Taguchi matches, I guess. Well, as long as they're not Dolph Ziggler matches that he's been studying. But they have a pretty decent match here. The old new guy versus Romero deal, He's only been around wrestling for a couple of years, apparently. So he seems pretty good, but Rocky steals at the end with a backslide. No surprises there. And AJC says he's worked his entire life to get to this point, and he'll always remember that. Introduces himself as Andreas John Ziegler. Or Ziggler? So there might be some Ziggler influence here. Or I don't know, maybe that's his real name. Probably not. That's a pretty silly name. But people are named all sorts of things these days, So he promises to be better next time. He considers himself the real winner of the match for some reason. Rocky's a bit more realistic when he speaks. He credits these younger guys as getting better and better, but he's still on a quest for the IWGP Junior title. We had Fred Rosser and Leo Rush versus El Fantasmo and Hikuleo. Rosser wants Hikuleo, but he gets ELP. Of course, Hikuleo and Rosser have kind of had some beef for a while now. It's more interesting when it's Rush in with ELP for this match. And surprisingly, Rush beats ELP with a springboard cutter. Meanwhile, Hikuleo and Rosser are brawling on the outside with weapons, so their feud's continuing. And, ELP's a really... he's again, I don't mean any pun. He's very strong. He's pushed pretty high in the junior division in New Japan. So they obviously see a lot in Lio Rush to be giving him a win over ELP. With good reason. I mean, Lio Rush is really good. But afterwards, Hikuleo says they're supposed to be the bad guys. He feels like, once again, it's the so-called good guys, given the kind of doing some of the cheating or using weapons or what have you. He's got a bit of a victim complex, Hikuleo. He thinks Fred has some real issues. But Rossa says he wants to keep it PG, but he's really fired up. He wants to get at Hikuleo with a no disqualification match next week. And Rush warns Hikuleo of what's coming. He'll continue to prove to ELP that ELP is a fluke and a cheater. Because they had beef since the... it wasn't the New Japan Cup, was it? Did they have like a junior tournament or something like that? That's right, the Super J Cup. Super J Cup. ELP beat Rush in the Super J Cup and went on to win it. So, yeah, Rush is still a bit salty about that. The main event of this one was an elimination match for whatever reason. Carl Fredericks, Brody King, TJP, and Clark Connors versus Tom Lawlor, Chris Dickinson, JR Kratos, and Danny Limelight. So, of course, Dickinson has made it clear that he's wants to challenge Tom Lawlor for the strong title. But other than that, I mean, of course, last week he teamed up with Moxley, who's not really affiliated with anyone else in New Japan Strong. So that was a stopgap since Lawlor and Dickinson had their little showdown. But no one's like thrown a punch at anyone or anything. It's just been words. And in theory, you could suggest that it makes sense that Team Filthy, that he would expect a challenge from the guys that are in his team. Tom Lawlor, that is. So it's not necessarily that they're not on the same page. But Dickinson does come out first by himself for this match, and then the rest of the team come out together afterwards. So while it's unclear, there's obviously some tension. And then this is when Clark Connors, he has himself a new theme. He's got some new custom trunks, basically just added a fancy white racing stripe. And he doesn't run to the ring anymore, because he usually would. So I guess that there it is. The graduation's complete. The Wild Rhino has entered the arena. And then his three teammates come out together as well. And it's over-the-top elimination is an option, but as a tag match, according to Kelly. So you got to be the legal man and then be eliminated. So, right, there you go. Anyway, Fredericks claims the first victim, who's Limelight, and he takes him out. Referee is... yeah, he's counting pinfalls as well. So you can be eliminated the normal way or over the top rope. Fredericks tries his best on Lawlor, shoots for a title shot, I guess. Dickinson tries saving Lawlor, but only just stops short of accidentally eliminating him. And then Fredericks pushes Lawlor out anyway, and Dickinson takes over, and he gets Fredericks over the top rope, but then it's Limelight that actually pulls him down to the floor. So there's, again, they're still working together. They're on the same team, but there's just a bit of... By the way, if I made that unclear, Limelight pulled down Fredericks. So they're still working together, but yeah, there's just these moments of, are they fully on the same team or not? So Connors crushes Kratos with a spear, but when setting up TJP for a splash, Kratos pushes Connors into that corner and knocks TJP out of the ring. He suckers in Kratos and drops down on the ropes, leaving only Connors and Dickinson doing that. What do you call that? When you run toward the rope and the guy's running at you and you just pull down the top rope and idiot falls over the top. He did that. Anyway, Connors and Dickinson are the two left, and they go blow for blow. Connors kicks out and comes back from a brainbuster, and then they clash on the apron. Dickinson wins with a head kick to the head that sends Connors to the floor. Lawlor wanted to celebrate and raise Dickinson's hand at first, at first Dickinson refuses that, only to accept it. He's like, Lawlor's like, come on, no, we're on the same team. You're the winner. I want to raise your hand. And yeah, Dickinson accepts and ends up regretting it. Limelight sneaks in with a low blow. Lawlor and Kratos put the boots to him until Brody King comes out to make the save. And then, wait, was Brody King in that match? Yeah, I didn't even mention him in any of those notes. I don't know when he got eliminated. But, yeah, King makes a save. Of course, Dickinson and Brody King are on the same team in Ring of Honor. But now the split has been made clear. Dickinson clearly not a part of Team Filthy anymore, and he shakes hands with Brody, kind of thanking him for the save, and they leave together. But Team Filthy, they're all laughs and smiles when they get backstage. Limelight says Dickinson bit the hand that fed him. Brody has it coming too. Limelight suggests a tag team match between those two and the two guys he's standing with, Kratos and Lawlor. Dickinson, when he gets back there, says that he isn't in Team Filthy because he doesn't like how they operate. Lawlor is his target. He's aiming right at him. Okay. Bloody hell, I got a bunch of episodes to get through. I'm not going to worry about the episode that happened yesterday. I'm taking too long with this. So that was the 15th. The 22nd, Coughlin versus Bateman. Bateman's back, and Coughlin looks jacked. Bateman comes out with a new outfit, controls the opening stages of the match, but it only really becomes interesting when Coughlin starts his powerhouse comeback. Bateman counters with a scoop driver that earns him a 2 count. He goes for a tombstone, but Coughlin reverses that into a Fujiwara armbar. Bateman finds the tombstone soon after, finishes the match with a pinfall. Bateman says this is just a starting point for him. He won't give up easily. Coughlin understands why everyone targets his neck, but he's not enjoying it. He won't be stopped regardless. He calls himself the captain of the LA Dojo Young Lions now that Clark has moved on. Fredericks and Brody King teamed up against Kratos and Limelight, which is kind of odd that they wouldn't put Dickinson in there rather than Fredericks. I mean, that seemed to be what they were setting up last week, but whatever reason, Dickinson isn't on this show. So the babyfaces are dumb enough to turn their backs on the heels, so they get jumped. Fredericks is left to deal with the match on his own in large part because they're really going after Brody King pretty strong. And then he actually manages to come through with a victory over Limelight with the Manifest DDT. So I don't know if maybe something went wrong there and they couldn't fit Dickinson in, because it seems like that would make sense for Dickinson to get the win there, and they've just plugged Fredericks in, and so he got the win instead. But I mean, those two are clearly unprepared to cut a promo together for whatever success they had in the ring. It was a really awkward promo between Fredericks and King. And then Limelight he's a bit more interesting. He says Carl calls himself the Lone Wolf, but he always seems to need help to win matches. The main event on this show was a no disqualification match between Fred Rosser and Hikuleo. Rosser with the surprise entrance from behind on Hikuleo. Once again, kind of a heel move, but whatever. Hikuleo's the first to pick up a weapon. He's swinging a chair at Rosser, narrowly misses twice. Rosser pegs a bucket at Hikuleo's head without regard for the fan safety because there's no fans to be careful of. So that's pretty funny. It just goes that they can do stuff like that now. And then the fight moves towards... peg, is that he throws. He threw it. I don't know if that's probably a colloquial term. Anyway, so he threw a bucket at his head. Rosser at Hikuleo. Something about that's very funny to me. Anyway, The fight moves beyond the curtain, then beyond the building, into the parking lot. Rosser gets knocked into the back of an open Pantech truck. I don't know what Americans might call that. Hopefully it's the same word. Hikuleo, just like a box on the tray, It's whatever, like a container, rather than the flat tray. Hikuleo tries to slam the door down on Ross's head, which is by far the most no disqualification thing that happens in this match, but he moves out of the way in time. They both make their way back to the ring. There's a table set up outside the ring. They battle on the apron to try and send each other through it. Rosser drops behind and grabs Hikuleo's head before leaping toward the table for kind of like a bulldog, but Hikuleo doesn't jump and he just lands on the floor, so Rosser just jumped into the table by himself. And he doesn't break it, he just hits it on the way down. But that was obviously, I don't know, bloody WWE dude. Just, instead of just selling it like something went wrong and trying to change the match to suit that, he gets up first as if just kind of showing that it was a botch. I don't know. And then, yeah, it just goes on to like win the match after that. Again, just kind of showing that was supposed to be the finish. Oh, he sent Hikuleo through the table. Oh my God, he can't come back from that. But I don't know who did it wrong. If maybe Rosser jumped too soon. Maybe Hikuleo, didn't realize how far away it was, or I don't know. But that's not the only reason it wasn't a very good match. It's just because it wasn't like a no disqualification match. They just didn't do much. There was just a lot of moving around without a lot of action actually happening. But anyway, yeah, it was the gut buster and the drop kick that finished the match for Rosser in the ring. And Kozlov is bemused why he would do such a thing. He's like, why would he go for that drop kick after hitting the gut buster? Because that's his finish. He's been doing it for weeks, if not months. I think months. And Kozlov has been commentator for every single one of these episodes, and he's not picked up that this is the way he does his finish. God, he's so... I feel bad for you, Kozlov, but you're just not very good at this. Okay, so yeah, Rosser wins, not a great match. Afterwards, he says a lot of gimmicky stuff, as always. But his message is basically that he's not done with Tom Lawlor, so he's trying to work his way up to a title shot there. 29th of May, AJZ versus Clark Connors. AJZ's back. Connors beats him with a spear, followed by what looked like a belly-to-back powerbomb or spine buster, but it was a really cool move. I liked it. Connors thinks AJZ has potential. He talks for a long time about some really weird and silly stuff to do with hunting. AJZ looks shook. He's committed to the promo, but it's not so bad for that reason, but his words are dull. Like he's just copying what other people would say. He's not speaking from the heart. Middle match was El Fantasma versus Wheeler Yuta. Yuta does pretty well in this one, but he takes his eye off the prize, allowing ELP to line up a sudden death kick. Bang! Out. ELP calls this super kick the most deadly and the best finisher in the company. Wheeler doesn't know what's in his boot, but he will come for revenge. And I don't know if I commented on Wheeler, if he said anything after his debut, but he speaks very naturally. He's suited to these type of promos in New Japan. I'm looking forward to more from him. And then the main event was a Strong Openweight Championship match, the first Strong Openweight Championship match, or defense at least. Tom Lawlor defending against Chris Dickinson. Lawlor does bring Team Filthy to the ring, Dickinson's former teammates. It's very mat-based to begin with, kind of submission-style grappling. When the space between them, Dickinson gets the better of the striking. He has to chase Lawlor around for quite a bit, and the champion's got some sneaky ways of stopping Dickinson's momentum, but for the most part, the greater deal of damage is dealt by the challenger. There is a figure four that slows Dickinson down quite a bit. He manages to escape from that. He counters a turnbuckle attack and hits a superplex before firing up and landing a DVD on Lawlor. And then Limelight distracts the referee, but Dickinson knocks him down. Kratos gets up on the other side, but then Brody King comes out to take care of him. Lawlor still tries to take advantage of that situation, but Dickinson, he's on the ball. He switches into a brainbuster, 2 count there. Dickinson attempts the next move, but Lawlor scrambles out of that. There's an SDF that's locked in by Dickinson, but Lawlor makes it to the bottom rope. The domination continues though. There's a German suplex from Dickinson. He goes for it again. Lawlor takes control of the arm and a great counter into a Kimura, but Dickinson powers out of that. Lawlor moves straight into a scoop tombstone. 2 count there. I think it was a kick out. And then Lawlor piles it on. He hits an inverted TKO and then goes for a guillotine. Dickinson fights out of that. He escapes from a rear naked choke as well. There's a sleeper that gets hooked on and turned into a suplex. A sleeper suplex for the finish. I kind of just felt like the pacing of this match was a bit off. Like it didn't build logically. And it kind of just turned into a bit of a moves match. There was a bunch of good moves and, shootier kind of moves. But I don't know. There was something about this match that just didn't quite click as I wanted it to. But afterwards, Dickinson promises the fans that he did his best. He hopes they aren't disappointed in him. He condemns Lawlor for his cheating. Next chance he gets, he'll be taking that title home. But then Limelight and Lawlor come back. They're celebrating until Fredericks interrupts in a way that is somehow even more obnoxious than the 2 guys that he confronted. Lawlor says he'll think about his challenge, but he's pretty angry that it came up at all. So I guess, Fredericks did get a win over Limelight. That's his biggest win to date. Is that, he thinks that's worthy of a title shot? I don't know, man. And then, of course, he beat recently Clark Connors, but that was when Clark Connors wasn't even fully graduated, so I don't know. It just seems like he's trying to jump the line a little bit. We move ahead to June. On the 5th, the Road to Ignition Tour. I knew it. There was 3 episodes? Kevin Kelly, this is going to be the longest tour that New Japan Strong's ever seen. I swear they had the same tour for months on end earlier in the program, the program's history. And the longest tour ever, 3 episodes. Was it even? Maybe 4 episodes? Road to Ignition Tour. They're not even tours. They're not going anywhere. They're all in the same place. Why do they even call them tours? And they're taping all the episodes at once. How are they not more organized with this? It's kind of insane. Who's running this? Rocky? Is he the booker? I don't know if he chooses tour names as well. There's that President Obari. Is that all he's doing? He's just bored, so he keeps coming up with new tour names? Anyway, 5th, Kevin Knight versus TJP. I've got to wrap this thing up, Jesus. Alright, we'll do 2 more episodes. Let's run through these. Let's ignite the Road to Ignition Tour. Kevin Knight versus TJP. TJP wins with a Cobra Twist, and then instantly picks Knight up and offers him a fist bump. I kind of like that camaraderie, especially between these two. Like TJP is obviously, he's a veteran. Kevin Knight just starting out. So I like that idea that, if you're way out of someone's league and you're a good guy, you beat them, you do what you have to beat them, and then you show good sportsmanship. This might seem like a weird thing to be pointing out, but it's just, you don't see that all the time in wrestling. It's just a realistic, nice little touch, detail, if you will. This is the kind of stuff I like, so I'm pointing it out. Anyway, Adrian Quest versus Barrett Brown. Oh, here we go. This is what I'm talking about, by the way. Remember when I was talking about the You should have a blah 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 young lion type match first, and then you have your mid card feud match, and then you have your championship stakes match. That's what this is. That's what this. Maybe they were listening to me before I even said it. So Adrian Quest versus Barrett Brown, and Brown's teamed up with Bateman, which is an interesting pair. Of course, grudge match here. Wants a tag team. Barrett attacked Quest, if you can't remember from 20 minutes ago when I was talking about this. Yeah. So in this one, Bateman distracts Quest on the top turnbuckle. Brown rolls him up with a fistful of his pants just for extra cheating points and extra leverage to win the match. So it's it's as if he's vindicated for doing what he's done. Barrett Brown not only beat the guy that he's been annoyed at stealing his wins, but this change that he's decided to make instantly was rewarded by his first... Is that his first win? I think it's his first direct win, like the first time he's actually ended a match in victory. So he might have been on the... I mean, yeah, he's been on the same side as winning teams, but yeah, that's... Of course, that's how this feud kicked off to get to this point. But yeah, backstage, Barrett and Bateman... They actually have a really weird promo, because Barrett's been doing these really good promos recently about all this, and Bateman is an interesting dude and he can cut a good promo, but they haven't figured it out between them yet, because it was weird. Bateman's got a new look as well. He had a new outfit last time out. He's cut his hair into like this grown out buzz cut. Who does that? Really strange. But I guess he's a strange guy, so maybe it is different. I've never seen anyone go to the barber and be like, what's the longest buzz cut you can give me? It's just okay. Anyway, Quest isn't real impressed with Barrett's win, and Darren Young... Oh, sorry, not Darren Young. I wrote Darren Young. That's not his name anymore. Fred Rosser walks in and agrees with him and says they should team up to take on these bullies. And then the main event was JR Kratos and Danny Limelight versus Satoshi Kojima and Carl Fredericks. So there's not much Fredericks can do to Kratos early. Koji botches his own lariat, but Limelight still makes it look good. And then Fredericks beats Limelight with a Lion Tamer. Kratos and Kojima trade blows after the bell, but Fredericks says he's now got 3 wins over Team Filthy, so he wants Lawlor next. It was a pretty good promo, but I don't know who the third victory was. I mean, he's beat Limelight twice now. Who else did he beat? Did he beat Kratos at some point? Maybe that was in the New Japan Cup or something? So, I don't know. I guess that makes sense. If he beat Kratos, then I guess it makes sense that he would get a shot. Not that they're necessarily like top contenders themselves, but just on a personal note, that Lawlor would want to pay attention to the guy that's beating up his friends or his teammates, you know. Anyway, so they're shooting for that. Kojima says that he can't speak English, but he just says something like, "He must break you." And then on the 12th, the Road to Ignition, we had Alex Coughlin versus Hikuleo. The match is all Hikuleo, apart from a single leg crab that forces Hikuleo to the ropes. But in the end, Hikuleo hits whatever he calls that landslide, the move that Nakamura used to do. He hits that move for the victory and says afterwards... Well, he shows some humility afterwards. He says that he enjoys beating the dojo guys while he still can. He's kind of putting them over. Alex says that he's never been thrown around like that, but he loved it. And he doesn't need an excursion or a graduation. He does his own thing, and he welcomes anyone, anytime to come and fight him. We had Rocco Romero and Leo Rush versus the DKC and Clark Connors. Leo Rush, he recently announced his retirement from wrestling at this point when this aired. But it'd be a shame if that's the case, because he's doing some great stuff here. But he got injured on an AEW show and apparently freaked out when he couldn't hold his his child or something like that. So he just might need a bit of time away. Hopefully he's gets his head right and comes back. But if that's what he wants, if that's what'll make him happy, I'm sure he he can do what he likes. Anyway, Connors speaks to Rush in the back. Hold on. Spears Rush in the back. I've got speaks here. Was that autocorrect or was that just my bad typing? Yeah, that was a unique spot. That'd be a rough one to take, a spear in the back. It'd be hard to make that look good and it not be terrible for your spine. But maybe Rush, if he doesn't want to get hurt, should probably stop doing things like that. But kind of his game too. I mean, I think he got injured jumping over the top rope for AEW, but Rush takes out DKC with a spinning back kick to the head and then a springboard cutter for the win. Rush over DKC, and then for whatever reason, Romero and Connors are having an uncharacteristic brawl on the outside. And Connors backstage can't explain his actions, but he wants a singles match with Rocky. Romero kind of belittles Connors. He reminds him of the results of their previous matches, but he's happy to get another win over him, and he and Leo laugh it off together. That was a bit strange. I mean, they've got a couple mid-card feuds in the works already with they've got Barrett and Quest that now Ross has kind of joined and Bateman's joined. They've got Team Filthy, the other two guys are kind of, I guess they're sort of in the title picture just because they're associated with the champion. But then there's what was the last one before that? Oh, that was Hikuleo and Rossa, so I guess they've kind of moved on from that. Yeah, I don't know. I'm getting the feeling it's a little bit disjointed, but maybe they're still getting their ducks in a row, and it'll make a bit more sense once it evens out these mid-card feuds, and then they don't have to be doing them every week. They can kind of cycle between 2 or 3 different ones to keep them going a bit longer, and that's fine. So, and I mean, Connors and Rocky's it's going to be a good match. We've seen it before, but I guess, I mean, it'd be a big win for Connors if he went over. I don't know if that's not usual New Japan booking for him to win that quickly, but maybe Rocky, if he's the booker, maybe he's like, hell, let's just push him straight up. Let's do it. The main event on this show was a bit of an odd one, actually. Mysterioso and Jordan Clearwater versus Fred Yehi and Wheeler Yuta. Yehi making his New Japan debut. And he's a good signing. I know Yehi from, I think I saw, he's been around a bunch of places, but I think I saw a bunch of his stuff in Evolve, when I was watching Evolve, I want to say. But, just when I was keeping up with the indie stuff more, he's a talented guy. I'm happy to see him on this program. He gets the win over Clearwater with a Koji clutch, and Mysterioso loses it now. I guess you could say this is another mid-card little feud here. Mysterioso blames Clearwater for the loss. Jordan says he tries to win Mysterioso back over, saying, just the normal stuff. It was pretty contrived speech about, teamwork and we can get better. But Mysterioso just kind of says, no, look, something's got to change. So they're ready for a breakup. Mysterioso wants to do something else. Yehi just says that he is going to keep bringing it. And then he just keeps repeating that he's going to keep bringing it. So eventually Wheeler just kind of says, well, let's bring it over this way, as like a way to leave and just get out of the promo, which was pretty funny. But that's about it. That's about it for this one. We have caught up There was an episode yesterday. I don't have time to go through that as well. That can be the next one. But yeah, transitional period perhaps. We're still getting everything ready on New Japan Strong. But I think there's some really good signs of the wrestling matching the story element of the show, because the wrestling's been good, solid for a long time, but they just need a little pizzazz behind it, especially if this is supposed to be. I mean, they shouldn't be trying to make it an American style. It should be Japanese style. There's already American style going on in America. They should be doing what they are good at, but yeah, they just needs to be organized a little better, I think, but it's getting there. I've got high hopes. So maybe we'll see more of that the next time I catch up with New Japan Strong. Thanks for catching up with me. Until next time, have a good one. That was a lame way to end it.